Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fitness Friday from Mindful Corporate Mastery. I am Lisa Larson, and I'm joined as always by Rasha Proctor, our Chief Mindfulness Officer. And we have our special guest today. His name is Michael Bruemmer, and we're going to have a fantastic episode today. So, Fitness Friday is where we look at performance beyond the workplace. Financial health, physical health, stress, relationships, and even your sense of security all affect how you think, lead, and perform. And today we're going to talk about identity theft and data breaches, something that Michael knows so much about. Before you tune this out and you say, oh, yawn, this is just going to be another financial topic, I want you to think about this differently. So if your identity was compromised tomorrow, your accounts got locked out, your time is going to be pulled into recovery mode. You're going to be calling all your credit card companies to cancel your credit cards. There's a lot of work that's done there. And trying to manage all that plus work and home, how focused are you going to be? And how clear will your decisions be? When your personal information is compromised, it's going to create stress, distractions, anxiety, and mental overload that can follow you into every part of your day. Michael is here. He is a cybersecurity and consumer protection expert, and he is here to talk about how to better protect yourself, what warning signs to look for, and the simple actions you can take today to reduce your risk. So, let me tell you a little bit about Michael and his expertise. He is Vice President of Global Data Breach and Consumer Protection at Experian, where he helps organizations prepare for and respond to data breaches and consumer risk incidents. He has a lot of experience in this, over 25 years of experience and involvement in over 70,000 data breach cases. He is a recognized expert in crisis response, identity theft protection, and consumer security. He's a frequent industry speaker and media contributor with insights featured in outlets including the Wall Street Journal and Fox Business. And he is an extremely awesome individual. So, Mike's got this expertise and he's going to help us break down what is actually happening with data breaches and identity theft and what people are missing. So let's begin. Let's maybe do just a little bit of a reality check. So, Michael, from your perspective, what has been changing the last few years with data breaches and identity theft? Are people starting to underestimate how exposed they really are? I know there was quite a bit of flurry, and it seems to in the news, it seems to have died down a bit. So what's going on?
Well, first of all, Lisa and Rasha, thank you for having me. I'm really delighted to be here, and hopefully, some of my comments can be helpful. And I know we'll have a lot of back and forth, so it should be a good session. So, what's changed in the last year, unlike the headlines dying down a bit, although we just recently, this past week, have had Canvas have a very large cybersecurity incident, and it's yet to be determined, but reports say that it's 275 million people across 9,000 schools,
Whoa.
which is pretty big in size. Having said that, the Identity Theft Resource Center says that over the last 5 years, there's been a 79% increase in reported data breaches. At the same time, and what's confusing and creates some of the issues you talked about with people not understanding what to do, what was compromised, as well as how they can protect themselves after a breach. The ITRC also reported that 80% of the notifications that consumers receive, whether it's an email, whether it's a notice on the website or an actual US postal letter, 80% of them do not have the transparency on what happened, why it happened, and how to protect themselves in over 80% of those notifications. And the last point I'd make on this is that the types of personal identity information, or PII, as well as protected health information, PHI, is becoming much more complex and compromised. Biometrics, medical records. In the case of the Canvas incident, it was student IDs plus sensitive communications on the Canvas platform, which could include issues mental health related or not. And the net of all this is that you're putting more consumers at risk from full blown identity theft when you have this plethora of information that's out.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like it's gotten a lot more complex than what it seems like right now. And when you hear it in the media, it doesn't seem as complex as what you just laid out. Could
That's
you
correct.
could you talk about if I get one of these letters or emails or notifications, what are some of the common mistakes that people make that leave them vulnerable? Should I freak out? Should I start like closing all my credit cards?
Well, the biggest mistake, number one on the list, is always not thinking that you are a target and disregarding the letter altogether because all of us have sensitive information to varying degrees, whether it's a government ID, a social security number, employee ID, let alone financial information, or even some personal information that you don't want disclosed. The second thing is you need to read the letter and you need to understand the letter. And usually in all the communications, there's a number to call, it's toll free, and people can ask questions to ensure they understand not only what's going on, but recommendations how to protect themselves. And then the last thing I would say is I like to think of creating digital layers of protection around your personal identity information or protected health information. And that's not only around yourself, but other members of your family that live in
Hmm.
the same household as well. I use the analogy of think of how you protect your house. You've got security cameras, you got a fence, both have dogs. I know that. You have neighborhood watch and you have locks on your doors. And all of those are deterrents for people trying to break in. Apply that to your digital life, and there's specific steps that we could take to make sure that the digital lives or the digital information that we have are protected.
And from that, is all data equal? So, should I think about what accounts do I protect or what information do I protect? Could you talk about what type of data seems to be more at risk?
I will tell you how I would stack rank the most important data, but I have to say that with a caveat because a lot of identity theft doesn't come from one security incident or one data breach. It becomes an issue when information that has been compromised over a number of events or lost or stolen over your lifetime that the criminals get a hold of and they amalgamate that data into what is known as a full identity string. But
Okay.
number one on the list is definitely unique identifiers, whether it's your government ID, employee ID, social security number, passport, driver's license, because those are absolutely unique to you. But going down the list, credit card information, insurance information, bank information, as well as even email, password, any of your particular information about your home router or what network you're on,
Hmm.
things like that go down the list. But definitely the more unique identifiers always come to the top of the list.
Okay. So, it sounds like it's not just one breach. It could be that the bad guys are collecting information, almost like creating a digital fingerprint. Would that be
Yes.
accurate? Okay. And then
Yes.
the things that are the most important to consider is anything that is unique to yourself. So your social security number, driver's license number, things like that, right?
That's right.
Okay. So most people are thinking about identity theft as some sort of financial inconvenience. What is the real impact on my time, the stress that I feel? If my identity got stolen or compromised, how long does it take to recover everything? Do you have a general sense of that?
I actually have some stats.
Of course
So
you do.
So Experian on an annual basis from the data breaches we serve, we have between 25 and 30,000 people that will come into our fraud resolution team, which is part of our Identity Works membership that you would receive after being impacted by a data breach. And the average fraud resolution time across all of those cases is 10 hours. Now, interestingly enough, the FTC also reports that complex identity theft, which may be, let's say, a child that has had their information compromised and his or her credentials have been used to open mortgages or apply for student loans or buy a house, whatever the case may be, those cases can take up to 200 plus hours to fully resolve, and the cost can run into hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's a really great point, which maybe people don't realize or think about your child's information getting compromised and because, kids don't open up credit cards. Can you talk about why is that common or why does it take 200 hours for a child's identity versus say an adult with around 10 hours?
Well, children below the age of 18, although even it could be younger than that, shouldn't be opening any sort of financial account or applying for a credit card or having their name show up on some sort of application other than maybe a college application. And so their identities are what we would call uncompromised or virgin identities. The child's social security number is just as valid as someone that's 50 years old. Their unique ID, even their driver's license, again, is valuable to put together an identity string. That's number one. Number two is many people don't monitor their child's social security number to see if, in fact, credit file may have been created in their name or an account open in their names. I always recommend some sort of monitoring as soon as the child is born, just to see if, in fact, they do have a credit file and, in fact, you can do something about it. A caution here is Experian doesn't do this, but sometimes people will request, hey, my child doesn't have a credit file, but I want you to create a credit file and then freeze it. That's not a good thing. If one doesn't exist, it is not a good thing to create a credit file because then there's no issue. But then, of course, on the flip side of that, I always recommend you should have your credit file locked or frozen so that nobody can open any new accounts. And you'll be alerted immediately if somebody tries to do it from any one of the bureaus.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue into, let's say I haven't been breached yet. What are some things that I could do as a consumer to protect myself? And it sounds like I need to do the same for my kids too.
Well, a simple list, and this applies to everybody. Don't click on any links. We're getting bombarded with texts and emails and
My
Slacks,
goodness.
and
Yes.
don't click on any links, period. You can always look at the link. If you recognize, if you don't recognize it, don't click on it. But you can always, if it says it's from a financial institution that you do business with, you can always go out to their website and go on the real link and check if there's something wrong. Second, don't answer any phone calls, even from numbers that may be in your contact list or familiar because the caller ID can be spoofed. So I say don't answer any calls unless you're absolutely expecting it. We have this rule within the family. If you want to get a hold of me, you have to dial 3 times and then the call will go through and come to me. But otherwise, there are friends of mine that I don't answer phone calls and let it go to voicemail, and you can set that up on most cell phone plans
Mm,
where if it's an unrecognized number, it can go to voicemail. QR codes are my bugaboo. In COVID, the QR codes blossomed because nobody wanted to touch anything. You could easily take a picture. But the problem with QR codes is humans, we can't read them. We
mm,
don't understand a good QR code from a bad QR code. I also recommend both at work as well as at home use a VPN or virtual private network, which gives you an encrypted tube between your transaction and the person you're dealing with. Encryption is important. Like we were talking right before the call about Spectrum. Spectrum in their home package has 256-bit encryption for all the routers that they have at home. I'm a fan of a password manager. There's lots of good ones out there, but the two best things about it is it's one place to store everything securely. It's encrypted. Most of the password managers have not been breached. A few have, unfortunately, but it also allows you, when you go to a website, the password manager will generate a unique password and store it for you so you don't even have to remember. You just have to remember one set of credentials to get into the password manager, and then you're off and running. And then last but not least, be a chicken little. If it seems suspicious, if it doesn't seem right, whether it's an unsuspecting solicitation through mail, whether it's a text from even someone that's trying to sell you something you just browsed on a site before, it's usually a scam. It's usually
Mhm.
something that's bad, and there's nothing wrong with saying no to everybody, not answering that calls, not responding to emails, and that puts you in a much better spot.
Those are some great tips. What really stands out here, it's not just about protecting your financial accounts, it's really protecting your attention. So making sure that you're being very intentional about what you are looking at, interacting with. I know sometimes I got caught at work one time clicking on one of those spam things because I was in a rush. It looked legit, hit one of those buttons. As soon as I did it, I shouldn't
Mhm.
have done that, but it was because I was really rushed. So, once you do get compromised or you're in a breach situation, you're not operating at your best, at that point in time, you might be really stressed out, freaked out, recovering, trying to regain control. Instead of waiting for that moment, how about Rasha? Maybe you could do a short little reset. So before you press that button, before you react, or before you freak out, you take Mike's advice in mind. Can you do a reset for us?
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you, Lisa and I actually both worked with Mike and we both used to work in breach. So we totally know that stress and we've seen a lot of our clients. The thing too, the same as children, I want to mention that is I seen it happen to friends of mine is their parents.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I seen my mom and dad, they click on stuff and the stuff they forward me, I'm horrified. So for whoever is listening, it's not just your kids. Have a talk with your parents, please.
Yes. Yeah, and we do have some folks that are on our Spotify podcast that come in from other countries too. So, what Mike was sharing today is pretty general. So, there are resources that are around the world that are about identity theft too.
Yeah, as the one other thing, and I didn't think I answered the second part of your third question, but you listed some of the reactions of both the impacted parties or their guardians or their parents. And the ITRC, which is the Identity Theft Resource Center, has a really good approach. They focus on the mental health aspects of what happens to someone that suffers identity theft, and they list 5 things, some of which we just mentioned: anxiety, fear, loss of control, betrayal, and shame. And then they also go on and they've done a survey on the long-term mental health aspects of identity theft, which include depression, insomnia, social withdrawal, trust, and this one is scary. 12 to 25% of the people that they surveyed thought about self harm after
Mm,
identity theft. So, to the point you made at the beginning, Lisa and Rasha, it is a really important issue. And if you don't deal with and take those precautionary steps, it can weigh on you both in the immediacy, but there are long term mental health implications.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Rasha.
Man, after that long list, Mike. All right. Yeah, definitely. It's in such situation, you really need to withdraw somewhat internally just so that you can find your own inner strength. Because at that moment, you almost lose faith in your surrounding, right? You lose faith in, do I answer the phone? Who am I talking to? Can I trust this? So you really have to go inward, know that you always will be okay. We'll just do a quick practice here. So go ahead, find your comfortable seated position. For this one specifically, you want your feet planted on the floor. So make sure that your feet totally touching the ground beneath you. Maybe even take off your shoes, whatever you are comfortable with, but you just want to feel totally grounded here. Your chair is stable, your feet on the floor, your spine is tall. And we'll start by placing one hand on the chest and the other on the belly. And this is a lovely, simple, self soothing practice. Now bring your attention to the cool air coming into the body and warm air leaving the body. 2 more breaths here. Just follow the sensations of the breath. Cool air coming in, warm air leaving the body. Now focus on the warmth of your palms. Maybe even slightly press the palms to the chest and the belly. Think of that warmth as comfort, as a safe space of a hug, reminding you that you will be okay no matter what. Now we're going to inhale through the nose to the count of 4. And then we're going to exhale through the mouth as if we are pursing our lips, like blowing a candle very softly, but we're going to do the exhale for the count of 6. So the exhale is longer. So it's going to go something like this. Inhale to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Now exhale through the mouth, blowing a candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause. We'll repeat this 3 more times. Follow your own breath count. Pause at the top. And then as you exhale through the mouth, pause at the bottom. Repeat again. As you exhale, relax the body. Let all tension and fear leave the body with the exhale. One more round. And when you're done, relax the hands and open the eyes.
Thank you, Rasha. I'm relaxed. Now I'm not thinking about breaches. This is how we think about performance. We think about the whole person, how you're showing up at work, things that are affecting you that could occupy your brain. Isn't it about doing more? It's about removing what quietly drains you. Identity theft is one of those things. It's invisible until it's not. And when it hits, it takes your time, your energy, and your focus. Here's the question I want to leave with today. Mike, what's one thing that you could do today to secure your identity?
It would be reduce your social media presence and your footprint because everybody's on their phone. We have hundreds of apps and we spend time, whether it's reading an online article, it might be going to Instagram or X or LinkedIn, but just reduce your footprint. One, it will declutter your life. Two, you'll spend probably less time doing it. And three, there'll be less opportunity for people to get information that you put out there inadvertently.
That's good advice. So, thanks for joining us today. Really great resources. There are some resources that you mentioned. So, we're going to drop those into the show notes for this podcast. And if this shifted how you're thinking, share it with someone who needs it. And if you want more content like this, follow us on our Awakening Performance Audio Lab. And we'll see you next Fitness Friday. Thanks again, Mike. Thanks, Rasha, as always.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
both.